I'm going to read through your paper and give you some suggestions and feedback. Okay, dentistry has been a profession where people's mouths are cleaned and checked. This profession often employs the use of chemicals and specific tools for our mouths to be clean. Everyone at some point will have to go to the dentist. However, we never question why we have to go to the dentist. There's an obvious answer, which is to take care of our teeth, but why our teeth specifically? Sometimes the dentist will tell something about our gums as such as gums disease. Why does a single profession have to focus on the human mouth alone? Okay. I think you could clean that up a little bit. Speaking of cleaning up. The part about there's an obvious answer, which is to take care of our teeth. Then sometimes the dentist will tell us something about our gums. I don't know. I just think you could do something. What do I want to say? I think you could ask different questions than like, why do we have to go to the dentist? I don't know. I think your introduction could focus on some questions that are more that sound more like questions lots of people would have. Like, why do I have to go to the dentist? Well, geez, I know, because my tooth hurts, usually. Originally, the dental and medical fields are considered to be, but introductions are really hard. I know that. Okay. Originally, the dental and medical professions were considered to be one field. A prime example of this would be medieval barbers. In the Atlantic interview with Mary Otto, she described what the medieval barber did was leeching and cupping and tooth extractions. They approached it as a mechanical challenge. Oh, God, to repair and extract teeth. Okay. In the Atlantic interview with Mary Otto, she described what a medieval barber did. That's how I would set that up. She described what a medieval barber did. And when you do an intro like that, you need the 2 dots, the colon, 2 dots like that, because it's setting you up for some examples of what you're talking about. It's one of my favorite ways to introduce a quote, actually. So sentence would be, she described what the medieval barber did, colon, 2 dots, leeching and cupping and tooth extractions. They approached it as a mechanical challenge to repair and extract teeth. Then in your parentheses there, you probably don't need anything in parentheses because you've already told us that it's the Atlantic interview with Mary Otto. I don't think a teacher is ever going to be like, take out that citation. There's too many, you've told us too much about where you got your info. But generally speaking, if you mention in your setup like what it came from, then the reader can look down at the list and be like, oh yeah, I see here's where it's from. The barber was in charge of taking care of people's health. Some of these techniques, such as leeching, a technique that involving the use of a leech, dude, you got to talk about what the leech did, are used in modern medicine. Then there is the dental technique of extracting teeth from the mouth. This means that tooth extraction would be considered a surgical technique. This is proof that medical and dental fields were one field. Okay, wait. Extracting teeth is surgical. You lost me here. I'm like, what is surgery anyway? And this is proof that medical... I don't think you need proof that they were one field. Just by the fact that they're fixing things on the human body tells me that makes sense they were one field. Okay, it makes sense that... I didn't mean to do that. It makes sense that dental and medicine were one field. To me, since they involve the health of people. Okay, see? I often found it interesting that dentists were never considered as being a doctor. Okay, I think you mean then why, maybe. Dentists, not doctors, who happen to... Then why are dentists not doctors who happen to specialize in teeth? Okay. Despite the difference between the 2 fields, I did find it a bit surprising that they were one field. However, it does not explain why there are 2 fields now. A split had to occur within the field had to occur. Okay, you'll fix that. A split that did not involve the usual specialization. Okay, let me try to unpack it. It made sense. To me, this part reads like you got all your thoughts down, but you needed to take an additional step of coming back later and kind of untangling it. So you talked about what these crazy dentists used to do. And one of the things they did was pulling teeth. Pulling teeth is surgery. Surgery means medical and dental are the same. That doesn't make sense. They were one field since they involve health. Dentists were never considered doctors. Okay, so out of all that, what seems important to me? I don't think the thing about surgery belongs here at all. That just seems like kind of a random thing thrown into me. Maybe later you'll talk about how dentists are, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dentists are both like doctors of the mouth as well as they generally will perform some types of surgical procedures in their office, like themselves, without referring to a specialized mouth surgeon, although of course those exist. I've seen them. Okay, so if you want to go through this time-wise, you can say, okay, in medieval times, then the next step after that, I would guess, is maybe you're going to talk about this. Dentist and doctor, you are going to talk about this. So maybe I shouldn't even spend time pulling this part apart and just say, I would cut a bunch of that stuff because it confused me. We'll see how the rest is going. The Renaissance was about to occur when the profession started to split into the modern dentist and doctor, though there is nothing exact on how the profession split in two. Many plausible factors could be applied to the split. Two of the most plausible factors were interests and technique. Okay, that seems useful. Interests and technique. Those who were medical experts by the end of the medieval ages found, quote, dental problems lacking in challenge for their skills. Okay, so people who were more interested in medicine thought that tooth stuff wasn't challenging enough for them, which is like definitely not true. But okay, this caused those who were still interested in the dental profession to split off. I might say split off into a separate profession. Not only did this help the split, but also physicians after Hippocrates favored a slow, painful tooth extraction process. The barber surgeons removed teeth quickly. Okay, so now we're back to Greek times, Hippocrates. They favored a slow, painful tooth extraction process. Okay, so at this point, I'll keep reading, but now I'm really feeling like what I would do to revise your paper is put down each of these little, you don't have to do this on like real physical cards, but that's what I do when I have this kind of problem with a piece that I'm working on. The ideas I have on a card and then like lay them out to be like, I'm going to talk about this first, and then this, and then that, and then this. For this size of your paper, I would say like maybe each sentence might need a card. Not that you have to write out the whole sentence, but you can look kind of idea by idea and then say, if we're going to talk about Hippocrates, we need to talk about him before medieval times, because that's before medieval times. Stuff like that. Split between the two fields caused by bias is surprising, though there could be possible alternatives such as social standing in which those who had medical knowledge that was the elite served princes and bishops and were responsible for their dental treatment as well, while the common people had barber surgeon, though the split caused the modern dentist and doctor to be born. When did dentistry start to be recognized as a profession? Okay, so here we're back again to, I think, kind of medieval Renaissance times. So yeah, definitely we need to be organized by time. Everything about the medieval stuff, everything about the barbers together, everything about Hippocrates before that in time. because what you're really looking at the history, like, and to look at it in order here by time, I think makes the most sense. Okay, according to Otto, in her interview with The Atlantic, she said dental profession became a, we would say the dental profession became a profession in 1840 in Baltimore. This indicates that the medical profession was recognized much earlier than this. I think it doesn't indicate anything about the medical profession. It indicates something about dentistry, right? The reason for this recognition, however, may come as a surprise. Since the split between dentistry and medicine, dentistry was never taught at medical school. There were attempts at the same time by two self-trained dentists. Their names were Chapin Harris and Horace Hayden. They approached the physicians of the College of Medicine and the University of Maryland at Baltimore with the idea of adding dental instruction to the medical courses there, because they really believed that dentistry was more than a mechanical challenge. It's really interesting, that mechanical challenge phrase. I'm like, that's really interesting to me. That it deserves status as a profession and a course of study and licensing and peer-reviewed scientific consideration, but the physicians, the story goes, rejected their proposal and said the subject of dentistry was of little consequence. This event would solidify the separation of the dental field and the medical field, though the split in the medieval age was the actual split. I think the people over time have considered that dentistry should be part of medicine. However, there are attempts even after this event. Those attempts were more subtle. These attempts were more subtle than having a lasting impact. They were more subtle and they didn't have a lasting impact? I'm confused by that. Specifically in the 1900s, when doctors and dentists shared classes in some schools, but the idea of dentistry as more of a craft than as a life-saving care stuck. This idea was reinforced by the dentists. It was. However, in the context of this quote, the article put back the teeth. Why we separate dental and medical care does not mention the dentist trying to stop the union of the two fields. It is plausible that this idea was a tool to reinforce the split between dentistry. What idea was a tool to reinforce it? Maybe the craft versus life-saving, but I'm not sure. In conclusion, the reason why Dr. Just for Teeth is that there was a lack of interest from the medical field, the efficacy of techniques, and lastly, the idea that dentistry was a craft, the reason why is that there was a lack of interest, the efficacy of techniques, and that dentistry was a craft. I'm kind of mixed up there. Despite the split of the fields, it seems that some things may remain the same over time. There will still be those who want these two fields to be one again. There are? I had no idea. Then those who want the fields to be separated. Well, I mean, I guess I can imagine ways, but you haven't told me what they are. However, what kind of effect would this union have? Okay. So, how much time we got left in your video? A couple minutes. So, what was great in your paper is that I can see you've done a lot of really good research. You found some good sources. What your next step needs to be is to create an outline of how you're going to organize your paper. So I feel what I would guess, I mean, I don't know, but what I would guess kind of happened here is that you were so deep in all these different things that you read that when you sat down to write it, it kind of came out in lots of little chunks that were sort of, you know, some good stuff, but they weren't. It's like you have an army working in your paper, but they're like not marching the way you want them to. Maybe that's a good metaphor. I don't know. But yeah, so for your revision, you need to make an outline so that you make sure each paragraph just says one thing, and that we know, like I said with the cards, you could also use that to help make your outline, so that we know each thing leads to another thing in a logical way, and there's a real reason why you've put them in the order you've put them in, to walk your reader through a very clear experience of why did they split, here's why they split in, here's how they split in ancient Greece, here's how they split in medieval times, here's how they split after medieval times, here's a thing that happened in 1900, and then you'll have a much clearer paper.